ADR. Promoting dialogue.
It's 6 p.m. in Dakar, 7 o'clock in Lagos. Good evening and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democrats Radio. Broadcasting on 94.9 FM and online at WADR. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Ahead of President Barrow's national address tonight, Gambia's National Assembly holds extraordinary session to address the sale of ex-President Jammeh's assets.
Honorable Speaker, I rise in the motion for the establishment of a special select committee to inquire into the sales and disposal of the assets identified by the Commission of Inquiry into the financial activities and offices as regards to the dealing with former President Yahya Jammeh.
Two former officials of Ghana's Infrastructure Investment Fund faces criminal charges for unapproved disbursement of $2 million. The Guinea government compensates victims of September 28, 2009 stadium massacre.
Today, it is a pride for the victims of September 28 to have this magnificent gesture. We have been fighting for 15 years and we are still here to fight for never again.
And the Nigerian Senate orders the deployment of military troops to northeastern region amid resurgence of Boko Haram attacks. Details of these stories and more are coming up shortly.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
My name is Sankule Janko. This edition begins in the Gambia, where the National Assembly convened an extraordinary session this Wednesday to consider a motion for the establishment of a special committee to investigate the sale and disposal of ex-President Yahya Jammeh's assets. The preliminary session focused on the growing controversy surrounding the sale of Jammeh's assets, an issue that has ignited public outrage in the capital Banjul and across the country. Key among the committee's work is to investigate and establish if the sale of the assets were in accordance with the law. Billy J. Tunkara is the majority leader of the National Assembly and the mover of the motion.
Honorable Speaker, I rise in the motion for the establishment of a special select committee to inquire into the sales and disposal of the assets identified by the Commission of Inquiry into the financial activities of the public bodies, enterprises, and offices as regards to the dealing with former President Yahya Jammeh and connected matters. Honorable Speaker, I move that this August Assembly do consider and approve the establishment of a special select committee to inquire into the sale and disposal of assets identified by the Commission of Inquiry into the financial activities of the public bodies, enterprises, and offices as regards to dealing with former President Yahya Jammeh and connected matters herein referred as the Commission. Whereas the Constitutional Republic of Gambia, 1997, and the National Assembly standing orders empower the Assembly to exercise scrutiny or oversight over the executive and ensure transparency and accountability in governance. Whereas public concern continues to grow regarding the processes, legal framework, and accountability mechanisms involved in identification, sales, and disposal of all assets identified by the Commission. Whereas the Commission was established by the Executive to investigate the financial dealing and assets of former President Yahya Jammeh and his close associates.
Mover of the motion and majority of the Gambia Parliament, Billy J. Tunkara. Meanwhile, President Adama Barrow is set to address the nation later this evening to provide further details about the sale of assets belonging to former President Yahya Jammeh, who has been in exile since 2017 in Equatorial Guinea. Meanwhile, in Guinea, victims of the September 28, 2009 stadium massacre has received compensation by the state. The move comes after 15 years of the victim call for justice and compensation from the government. Well, some welcome the decision, others urge the state not to repeat such massacre in the future. Augustine Coley has the details in the following report.
The beneficiaries are the 334 victims recognized by the state after the verdict in the trial of the September 28, 2009 stadium massacre. As promised, the state paid 119,900,000 Guinean francs to the victims, divided into three groups. These include women victims of sexual abuse, deceased or missing persons, and victims of looting of property during the massacre. Meanwhile, the Minister of Justice, Yaya Kairaba Kaba, expresses hope that this act will bring peace to the victims and contribute to national reconciliation.
This decision contributes more effectively to social peace and national reconciliation, while encouraging survivors to definitively turn the page on this painful chapter.
After 15 years of waiting for justice, the victims say they are now at peace, but called on the government to ensure that history does not repeat itself. Umu Bari is one of the victims of the September 28, 2009 massacre.
Today, it is a pride for the victims of September 28 to have this magnificent gesture. We have been fighting for 15 years and we are still here to fight for never again.
However, a source close to the case revealed that after compensating the victims in the name of national reconciliation, General Mamadi Doumbouya could pardon those responsible for the September 28, 2009 stadium massacre. As a reminder, Captain Musa Dadus Kamara, head of the junta at the time of the events, was pardoned 2 months ago after being sentenced to 20 years in prison in connection to the case.
Augustine Coley filed that report by Ibrahim Balde in Conakry. We head to Ghana, where the Attorney General's office has filed criminal charges against 2 former officials of the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund over their role in the failed Accra SkyTrain project, which cost the state $2 million. The institution former CEO Solomon Asamoah and ex-board chairman Professor Christopher Ameyo Ekumfi are accused of authorizing the payment without approval and now face multiple charges, including causing financial loss to the state. WDR's Nadidi Tete in Accra reports.
According to prosecutors, the duo in February 2019 authorized a $2 million payment from the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund, GIIF, to Africa Investor Holdings Limited to fund preparatory work on the SkyTrain project, a futuristic urban rail system proposed to ease congestion in Accra. However, the funds were reportedly disbursed without the necessary board approvals, and the project itself never got off the ground. The SkyTrain initiative, announced in 2018 under the Akufo-Addo administration as a flagship public-private partnership between the Ministry of Railway Development, GIIF, and Africa Investment Holdings, has since become a symbol of misgovernance and failed oversight. Investigators say the transaction lacked both due diligence and compliance with internal governance protocols at the GIIF. Attorney General Dr. Dominic Ayene emphasized the state's position in the legal filing, asserting that the accused acted beyond their authority, leading to a substantial financial loss to the nation. He said the payment was authorized and the project never materialized, which is a clear case of financial misconduct. However, sources close to the case indicate that the former GIIF board members are prepared to testify for the prosecution as the trial unfolds. This legal action forms part of a broader government effort to clamp down on public sector corruption, with similar charges expected in other high-profile scandals, including the ongoing National Service Scheme Ghost Names case. For WADR, Nadidi Tete, Accra.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Some security matters. The Nigerian Senate has requested the urgent redeployment of military troops to Borno and Yobe states following a resurgence of attacks by Boko Haram terrorists in the northeastern region. These recent attacks led to the killing of over a dozen soldiers in Matra town of the Mongoa local government area on Monday, and a subsequent assault early Tuesday on Jirom and the headquarters of the Nganzai local government area. The lawmakers noted that the militants involving tactics, now including the use of modern technologies such as drones, as well as an increased deployment of improved explosive devices (IEDs), have led to significant civilian and military casualties and disrupted transportation networks in the northeast. As a result, the Senate ordered the military high command to swiftly deploy sufficient troops to the northeast and ensure they are adequately equipped with modern technology to effectively combat the renewed threat. Recently, insurgency launched attacks on the Maiduguri, Damboa Road, Mat, Chibok, Gwasa, Kalabag and other communities. An explosion on Monday 12 also claimed the lives of 2 staff members of the Damboa Local Education Authority who were on their way to Maiduguri to sit for the Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria TRCN examination. Still in Nigeria, insecurity continues to pressure systems that have for several years served populations, guaranteed sustainability, and provide economic opportunities. These, among others, include economic, education, health, social, and security systems. Benue State, for example, regarded as the food basket of the nation because of its agricultural endowment, presently faces food shortage due to insecurity. WADR's Abdullah Hassan, who is on a mission to Makurdi, the state capital, reports that residents and experts are warning against the advent of a plethora of issues unless urgent actions are taken.
Since its creation in 1976, Benue State, located in the north-central of Nigeria, has retained its position as the food basket of the nation because it feeds the country. Known for its heavy export of farm produce and home of the largest yam market in Africa, Benue is fast losing its status as the security situation worsens. Aman Atimintiti Timothy, a public affairs analyst, explains.
Most of the farmers have deserted ancestral homes, and some are confined to IDP camps where they live and depend on government to feed. And for those who are even courageous to return back to farming in their ancestral homes are either butchered or attacked on their farms. And then the food security aspect is one issue that government is playing with. In fact, we are already experiencing it. In the past, you could get a plate of fufu here at the rate of 500, 200 in Makurdi. But today is not the order of the day. Food is extremely expensive in the food basket of the nation, flowing from the insecurity we are experiencing.
However, food insecurity is not the only concern for residents. Mom Laz, chairperson of Bengonet, a coalition of over 200 NGOs in Benue, reveals a disturbing data that particularly affects young girls.
1,000 girls are trafficked out of Benue annually, and Benue was second to Kano. It was just the data by National Agency for Prohibition of Human Trafficking, NAPTIP. It was alarming. Girls are trafficked from Benue in their droves. There are so many effects. I'm not talking about diseases. I'm not talking about the boom in bed.
Benue, a state with around 6.2 million people, has for decades reported intercommunal and religious conflicts, as well as farmers-herders clashes, and most recently, attacks by armed men. With hundreds of people killed and more than 150,000 others displaced since the start of the year, Mom Laz recommends strengthening cross-border surveillance, improving intelligence sharing, and establishing state police to end insecurity in the region.
Abdullah Hassan filed that report from Makurdi, the capital of Benue State, north-central Nigeria, where he is on a security mission. We turn our attention to the Central Sahel region, particularly in Nigeria, where livestock sellers are reacting to the ban on the export of livestock. According to the Nigerian government, this measure is intended to prevent a livestock shortage on the eve of the Tabaski festival. However, cattle sellers deplore this decision as a measure that will have economic consequences on the sales of their livestock for the festival. Elias Amwaru is a member of the Livestock Sellers Union in Niger, while Isu Faolu is a teacher who also raises sheep that he sells in neighboring countries. The both individuals have been reacting to the ban on the export of livestock from Niger.
As our union, we have collaborators. We set up temporary businesses. It is during the days before the festival that we run a livestock trading business outside. So often, there are those who inject their money. Others take credit to come and buy, then resell to make a profit. Imagine I borrowed money from you. I come, I buy sheep here that I want to take to Lomé or Côte d'Ivoire and sell. And now I am told that these sheep cannot leave. Meanwhile, the price here in Niger and the price outside are not the same.
In fact, this measure does not suit us. We pay for our sheep the day after the Tabaski festival to raise them and wait until next year to sell them. But now, with this decision, we will be operating at a loss, given that we invest in livestock.
Elias Hamauru and Isi Faulu are two livestock sellers in Niger. You are listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Ahead of President Barrow's nation address tonight, Gambia's National Assembly holds extraordinary session to address the sale of ex-President Jammeh's assets. Two former officials of Ghana's Infrastructure Investment Fund face criminal charges for an unapproved payment of $2 million. The Guinea government compensates victims of September 28, 2009 stadium massacre. The Nigerian Senate orders redeployment of military troops on northeast region amid insurgents of Boko Haram attacks. Still ahead in the news, transitional government dissolves all political parties and status of opposition in Mali. We also have guest interview, sport updates. Please stay with us.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Let's have some more political developments, and let's cross over to Mali, where all political parties and organizations of political nature have been officially dissolved by the military government. The decision follows General Assimi Goïta's promulgation of laws repealing the charter of political parties and the status of the opposition. For several weeks, political figures have continued to denounce the dissolution of their political parties, which they believe constitutes a violation of the constitution and an attack on multi-party system. Christopher Atichu has the details in this report.
Following the abrogation of the Charter of Political Parties by the Transitional Parliament, unsurprisingly, the law was promulgated by the Transitional President General Assimi Goïta. The government therefore acts on the pure and simple dissolution of political parties. Mamani Nasiri is the minister responsible for political reforms.
All political parties and organizations are hereby dissolved throughout national territory.
The Malian transitional government also prohibits meetings and other political activities and the penalty of sanctions. Civil servants are called upon to continue their mission without claiming to be part of their political party.
Individuals serving in the political and administrative institutions of the state may continue their mission without being able to claim their status as representatives of political parties or political organizations.
Meanwhile, the government also plans to develop a new law that will govern the creation of political parties. Political parties continue to contest their dissolution, which they consider illegal. They denounce it as an attack on the multi-party system.
A report from Aliou Cham in Bamako, voiced by Christopher Atichu. Elsewhere in Côte d'Ivoire, an extraordinary congress for the election of opposition PDCI's new president is underway at more than 400 locations across the country and in the diaspora. This congress follows the resignation of the party's former president Tidjane Cham. Interestingly, Tidjane Cham is recontesting in the party's election. According to a party official, this is a strategy to bypass legal proceedings against Tidjane Cham. As a reminder, Valerie Apple, one of the PDCI officials, is contesting his legitimacy as head of the political party. According to officials, Tidjane Cham had a dual nationality when he was elected leader of the PDCI and also registered on the electoral roll in November 2024. However, he was removed from the electoral roll by court order. After the internal problems with the PDCI, Tidjane Cham will still have to resolve the issue of his registration on the electoral roll. The government of Liberia has secured $56 million grant in direct budget support from the European Union and an additional €7 million earmarked for the bolstering public financial management and transparency. However, this initiative, which runs from 2025 to 2027, is tied to conditions including economic stability, better public fund management, and a clear development plan. During the signing ceremony in Monrovia Tuesday, Liberia's Finance Minister Augustine Ngofan emphasized that the grant will enhance greater fiscal discipline and mobilizing domestic revenue. He highlighted that the funds are intended not only to improve transparency and accountability, but also to enhance policy effectiveness within the forest and agriculture sectors, promoting a sustainable development project.
And this support will go to capacitating the GSC and enhancing efforts in public financial management and transparency. The budget support comes directly to the government budget. It is a vote of confidence in the reform that we've initiated, working in partnership with the EU and other partners. We have agreed indicators, and we have a policy dialogue framework that we take very seriously. The aim is to always proceed in ways to justify support. This support is going to help us to do is to strengthen our ability to generate revenue for ourselves.
Augustine Ngofwan. Meanwhile, EU Ambassador to Liberia, Nona Deprez, said the direct budgetary support underscores the EU's confidence in the Liberian government's commitment to ensure accountability and financial governance. Ambassador Deprez also praised the robust partnership and shared objectives between the European Union and Liberia in the pursuit of sustainable development.
The European Union's use of direct budget support reflects our confidence in the government of Liberia's commitment to pursue ambitious reforms, promote accountability, and improve financial governance. And this funding modality demonstrates a strong partnership and shared goals between the European Union and Liberia in promoting good governance and sustainable development. For the complementary measures, the project is foreseen to be managed by Swedish SIDA. It will be comprised of 3 work streams: improve public finance management systems and domestic revenue mobilization, including in the sector of natural resources. Secondly, stronger accountability and transparency through civil society and better capacitated audit systems.
EU Ambassador to Liberia, Nona Deprez.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Our guest interview this evening takes us to Mali, where the military transitional government has officially dissolved all political parties and organizations of a political nature across the country. The decision follows General Assimi Goita's promulgation of the laws repealing the Charter of Political Parties and the status of the opposition. However, it is important to note that for several weeks, the aggrieved political parties have been denouncing this decision as a crackdown on multi-party system. Our guest is Hadi Yakubu, a human rights activist who speaks about the situation in Mali.
Well, there is political contestation. For me, that is one of the things that need to be underscored, that this has not come without any political contestation, and that space itself is being contested. For example, if we have the issue of transitions and military rule, and getting back to civilian rule and elections and democracy. First of all, we must make the point that democracy it's not only about election, it's about all the things that we talk about: transparency, accountability, respect for human rights and whatnot. The worry in a clampdown is always that it has the potential to expand to other sectors of the society. And that is a recipe that can lead to something that we all do not want. And essentially, it means that the transition is set to prolong its time and all of that.
What would you also think about the government's plan to develop a new law that will now govern the creation of political parties after dissolving these political parties?
Okay. So I think the context of it needs to be transparent, and it needs to be out there for people to be able to appreciate. And once we have the full content and the full context, we can be able to make fuller comments. But in a preliminary understanding of it, I think it's something that needs to be put to the test of transparency and accountability. And we need to be able to fully digest the content of this new law that is coming out from the transitional government. And as I said, I continue to emphasize that there's a need for dialogue. There's too much adversary. There's too much adversarial politics, be it in the politics led by the military or or the civilians. We do not need this. We need to make sure that even where there's contestation and where there's disagreement, we as African people must be able to agree and disagree in ways that build the community rather than tear it apart, because we're building something that can stand the test of time. We are facing, as an African people, multifaceted threats across the entire spectrum of issues, including political, economic, environmental even, which is probably the biggest issue that we're facing right now.
Do you see a multi-party democracy returning to Mali anytime soon with regards to these decisions by the transitional government, sir?
I think not, but it's basically something that we have to keep to engage on and to observe and to show solidarity where it is needed and to make denunciation where it is needed.
Hadi Yakubu is a human rights activist in Mali. And here comes Augustine Coley with the latest in the sporting world. Good evening.
Good evening, Sankule. The 30th Tour Cyclist International du Togo is set to roll out from May 16 to the 25th. This year's edition will feature riders from 8 countries, including Benin, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, Sierra Leone, Burkina Faso, Mali, Algeria, and France. 58 cyclists are expected to take part in the opening stage, a challenging 196-kilometer ride from Kabul to Mango. The tour will span 9 stages in total, with the grand finish line set in the capital city, Lomé. Now into football news. History has been made in the English Premier League. Liverpool's Mohamed Salah has been voted the league's Player of the Year for the 3rd time, setting a new record. The award comes from the Football Writers Association. Salah had an exceptional season, scoring 28 goals and 18 assists, and played a decisive role in Liverpool's title win. In France, Ivorian goalkeeper Yahya Fofana has also been recognized for his outstanding performances, with Angers capping off a standout season between the posts. And finally, a contract extension for Senegal's Omar Daf. The head coach of Amiens in France has impressed the club officials and will now stay on the sideline until June 2027. Daf took charge in July 2023 and has earned praise for his results and leadership. That's the latest in the world of sports, Sankule.
Augustine, before I let you go, are you surprised that Mohamed Salah has won the English Premier League Player of the Year for the 3rd time?
No, I'm not surprised. He's a consistent footballer, and that's what comes with awards. So, I mean, like I would say for Sadio Mane, if Sadio Mane had been even with Liverpool, you have done the same. We look up to African players who are consistently performing. With that, you can be depended upon, for even the Ballon d'Or.
And he's one player that you can really depend on. Liverpool fans will tell you that.
Certainly.
He's a reliable footballer. Yeah. Augustine Coley with the latest sport. Thank you very much, Augustine. We have come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Falilu So and Seth Njai for technical assistance. Do interact with us via our social media platforms, X and Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, WADR English Service. I am Sankule Janko. Good evening.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM.